Let's get reaction to the story now. We're joined by William Bird from Media Monitoring Africa via Skype. William, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. A bloated, multi-layered management workforce, poor governance, just some of the things that led to the mess at the SABC. How do you think we got to this point?
Well, I think that we need to consider that the SABC as an institution has been deliberately kept in a state of crisis for just about 15 years. You've had managers, senior executives who've either been complete political lackeys, some of them just complete raving lunatics, and others just blatantly and entirely corrupt, and some of them, the others are a kind of combination of them. And if you look at the fact that there's been no proper oversight by Parliament or by ICASA, and it was only really when the wheels started to really come off and there was enormous public pressure that they had the inquiry, that things started to turn around, and then that we got a new board that they actually looked like for the first time in about 15 years, they're trying to make a new plan, and they're discovering that the institution they're dealing with is hopelessly broke.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely cause for concern, and this will impact the SABC's newsroom, no doubt about that, right?
I think not just the newsroom, its ability to carry programs. We know already around about the football rights and those sorts of things. We know they aren't able to pay a lot of their producers. This is really a national disaster. The real question for me is why hasn't government offered to give them a guarantee? We've got a team, they've got a turnaround plan that isn't just about retrenchments, it's about a whole lot more than that, and yet they're not getting a guarantee. Yet we see every year SAA literally gets given billions in order to go and spread it all over the runway. I mean, I think if they were to flush it down the toilet, it might be better served. At least people could take it from the sewer farm. But yet here we've got a public institution in deep and profound crisis, and yet they're not being given a guarantee.
Yeah. Now, William, some employees, of course, raising concerns that SABC is paying big bucks for certain news presenters as well as sport presenters and DJs on the platform, but they're now talking about being broke and technically insolvent. What's your reaction to that?
Well, if you look at the allegations around some of the senior management, for example, their current cost, I think it's significantly less than half the amount that was under the Hladi Motsoeneng regime, which was around 70 million rand that they were spending, and now in your insert they quoted at 25 million rand. So, you are talking about senior executives at a multi-billion rand entity, so it's not like you're going to expect to get good people for a super cheap rate. That said, you obviously need to make sure that these are reasonable salaries, but certainly if you look at it, the ratio of having one manager to every 7 employees is simply not sustainable. Having people who are employed on the basis of little other than their desire to help plunder, again, is not sustainable. We are talking about it, as I said, an institution that has been kept deliberately in crisis, and we're not going to shift away from that by simply saying, oh, well, let's just cut a few people here and there. We need radical shifts. If you also look at a global picture, public broadcasters the world over, even your most successful ones in countries that aren't in deep financial crisis. So if you look at your Scandinavia and you look at the UK, their public broadcasters have gone through very similar significant restructuring processes. And here, we need to be doing similar things.
Yeah. Now, the CEO reckons these harsh measures need to be taken to see things change at the SABC. You think that's going to happen after 15 years?
Well, for the first time, we've got an independent board. It's since basically becoming a democracy, and you can see that the ANC broadly and the Minister of Communication are not responding very well to this. We've seen them coming out being quite hard-hitting about the board and their plans and wanting to sort of gain a measure of control. I think that we are seeing a board that's at least trying new things. We've got senior management that seem to be saying we need to be doing things differently. Whether or not it's going to be successful, I guess the proof will be in the pudding. But certainly what we do know is that we can't continue with the SABC as it is. And even if you're government, you can't be saying, oh, we can't retrench anyone, and then at the same time say, oh, we're not even going to think about giving you a guarantee. You know, they really are putting the SABC in an impossible situation. And the real question we have to ask again is why they're not getting a guarantee, and whose interests are being served by wanting to keep the SABC in a state of deliberate crisis.
But, William, that's the thing. When government does give the SABC a guarantee, if it does, you'll still have people complain that more money is being wasted on another SOE.
Well, look, again, if a guarantee is very different to a bailout. Eskom, Denel, SAA, those are state-owned entities. The SABC isn't a state-owned entity like them. It is a public institution and a public company, and they're not getting a bailout like those institutions. They're asking for a guarantee. In other words, they get a plan that they can actually pay back the money. So SABC actually has a sustainable chance of being able to operate on a sustainable business basis, unlike SAA seemingly, and Eskom and Denel and all of these others. And again, they get constant bailouts with seemingly no level of accountability whatsoever. Here, we've got people demanding this, and this, and yet they're not even prepared to put their money where their mouth is. Again, we have to ask, why is that?
Yeah, you're right. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. William Bird from Media Monitoring Africa.